So, there's a new player in the game. Elgato is now making webcams. Let's check it out. So the first thing I'm going to point out is the Elgato Facecam is about twice the size of the C920 by Logitech. It's got some hefty weight to it. Although they both seem pretty similar in weight, this definitely stands out and has a much bigger profile. Nice thing is that it has a USB-C in the back right here, so you can just plug it in via USB-C or take it out if you're traveling. You don't have to worry about that cable being broken. And if that cable does get broken, just pick up another USB-C cable to USB and that's totally fine. With the C920, it's stuck in the back so you can't change it. So if this cable breaks, that's it. Links to both of these webcams and other gear that I use in my videos is down in the description. If you use those links, it does support the channel. I really appreciate it. Now, the Logitech C920 is listed as $80 on Amazon, whereas the Elgato Facecam is $200. And currently, it's not in stock on Amazon. But I'm gonna give Elgato some slack here. It is a brand new product that's released just last week. No big deal there. I expect it to be on Amazon within the next few days. Now, is this price difference gonna really improve your video quality? Spoiler alert, yeah, it does. But is $200 justifiable for a webcam like this as opposed to an $80 webcam like this? Let's take a look and find out. So let's quickly talk about the pros of the Elgato Facecam. First, it does come with a USB-C cable, so it supports 3.0 USB, which is one of the best USBs right now you can get. And I would suggest using a 3.0 USB from your computer. Do not use a USB 2.0 because you're not going to get the maximum quality out of your camera. It might not even register your camera in the Elgato software, so keep that in mind. Elgato is known for their long cables. This one is not an exception. It's a really long cable, so it's going to reach your computer. But if it doesn't, you can get a USB extender and it's totally fine as long as it's a USB 3.0. So the specs of the Elgato Facecam is a 2.4 aperture, which allows it to get some shallow depth of field without it being too shallow. So if you take something closer to the camera, it's still going to be in focus while your face is in focus. And I did a test on that and you'll see that in just a second. In addition, this lens is a 24mm and it's full frame equivalent. It's a Sony CMOS sensor. So Sony is known for their low light capability in their camera sensors, and this is no exception. This is great in low light. Now check this out. You can rotate the Elgato Facecam 360 degrees and tilt it up and down, so you can get just the right angle. You don't have to be tilting your monitor in order to be able to get your camera to face where you want it to face. Like I would do with the Logitech C920. And that can get a little annoying because you're gonna rotate the monitor, which you don't want to do sometimes. One of the highlights or more prominent features of the Elgato Facecam is the free Camera Hub software that comes with it. You can download it from Elgato's website. Fantastic. You can actually see included with this is the ISO settings, which you can't do that with any other webcam out there. It's nice that I get to control that, so I can reduce the amount of noise in my image. There's a lot of other useful little tricks that you can do with the software in order to improve your image quality, and we'll go over that in just a second. Now, with any product out there, it's going to have its problems and compromises. Elgato hasn't made a lot of those, but one I would like to mention is obviously this webcam doesn't do 4K 60, which would have been nice, but if you're doing a 1080p stream anyways, it's not going to be a huge deal, but it will definitely be able to give you more quality if it was a 4K camera. However, at $200 for Elgato to put 4K into that webcam, it's going to definitely increase the price of the webcam time due to the hardware that's going to be in the webcam as well as the software capabilities. And you know, at $200 already, Elgato is going to try and keep it as cheap as possible. I say that lightly because Elgato products can be expensive. Maybe if a company is out there that can do something similar at a cheaper price, hit me up and I'll definitely let people know about it. One other problem I have with this camera, and maybe it's a user error, but with Elgato Camera Hub, you can't have that preview activated while you have OBS Studio open. So I tried to have OBS Studio open at the same time. It kind of mutes or hides the video preview on the Elgato software, and it shows up in OBS Studio. You can't have both at the same time, which is a little frustrating. And that's something that either OBS or Elgato need to fix, or maybe they need to collaborate and get that going together. Now, with the Logitech C920, the pros, there aren't that many actually. As a 1080p 30 webcam, that's really what it's limited at, and for 80 bucks, that's great, but that's what most people are using on Twitch, and in low light, it's not all that great. There's nothing special about the webcam. It's got grainy images. You can go into OBS and add filters and stuff, but there's only so far that you can push the camera to its limits before you start to break the image, and that's obviously not what we want to do. So let's quickly take a look and see how to set the Elgato Facecam up, what the software looks like, and how to best utilize it to get the best picture quality. If that's something that you want to get at $200, is it going to be worth it? Let's take a look and see. Okay, so I'm at the main computer right now, and I mentioned that you cannot have the video preview in Camera Hub while having OBS open at the same time. That remains true. However, with Streamlabs OBS, I've got it open right now. That's what I'm recording with, and I have the Camera Hub open, and the video preview is here. It's great. I see no delay whatsoever. So right now we're going to quickly go over the settings of this and how to set it up and what it looks like. Okay, so what we have here, well, let's just start out with the basics. The save button, if I click that, it'll save the current settings it has right now to the actual camera. So if I move this camera to another computer, it'll keep the same camera settings. That's really nice. I don't know of any other Facecam or webcam that has that same feature. Something that's very unique. Now, if I click this button here, you can obviously reset to factory settings, which I've done for this video, so I can show you. I have had a look and see what the settings look like and how good the video quality is. But I reset it so that I can show you from scratch how to set it up. And the status LED is a little light on the side of the camera. I'm going to choose on while streaming just so I know when the camera is actually on. You can choose to have always off, but that way you don't know when it's on or not. And that might be a concern for some people who have privacy concerns. I have some of those too, which is why I still have the Elgato, what is this, like the lens cap kind of. You know, I close all my cameras and turn them off whenever I'm not using them. That's just general practice that I have. Now, field of view, this is digitally zooming into the camera or the scene essentially. So it's not actually zooming the camera, it's just digitally scaling it up, and you can see how bad the audio gets the further you zoom in. Contrast, you can just increase, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory what contrast is. Saturation, sharpness. If I increase the sharpness, it looks way too sharp. And if I decrease it, it looks way too fuzzy and I look blurry. At +1, it still looks slightly fuzzy. So I keep it at +2, which is the default and something that is pretty good and looks decent. I'm going to turn off automatic on the exposure, and you can already see the ISO has been increased a bunch. Right now, my shutter is 1/64th of a second. Currently, I'm at 60 frames per second for the camera, which the shutter speed rule is you need to have at least twice the shutter speed as the frame rate that you have. So 60 times 2 is 120. So let's go to 125 is good enough. It's usually, nope, I can't even do 120. It goes in increments 64, 125, 250. So let's go 125. ISO, let's take that down as far as we can, because the more ISO, the more noise we introduce into the image. I mean, you can just see if I increase it, there's a lot of noise on the dark parts of my video here. So let's decrease. I want to focus on my face. How does my face look? And I think that looks pretty good. So 165. Let's take the white balance off automatic and let's reduce it to 40,000 Kelvin is pretty good. And noise reduction. So if I turn this on, you can see it slightly blurs the image a little bit. It's actually not all that noticeable, to be honest. Like if someone has it on, Stream isn't really going to know if you have it on or not. It does blur the image a little bit. It's nothing crazy. see, but still something to consider. So there's a lot you can do with this, but let me turn the backlights off real quick and see how it does in low light. All right, so I've changed no settings. All the lights behind me are off except for the, the computer screen. It seems to be doing really well, actually. Let's increase the ISO a little bit here. Let's see how far we can push it. I want to keep it to where my skin looks natural, and that looks really nice, actually. All my lights are off and it looks really decent. So if I even zoom in here, yeah, it looks pretty good. Let me turn all the lights off, see what it does with no light source. Okay, so it's extremely dark. That light there is coming from my PC. Let's fix this here real quick. I'm gonna increase some of this, make sure my skin here is good. Now ISO is cranked up a lot and there is a bit of noise in the image here. Let's turn on noise reduction. It does make my image look a little fuzzy, which is okay, it's not bad. If I turn the sharpness down, it will decrease the noise a little bit, but not by much. So this is low light. This is impressive. The C920 is terrible in this scenario. Wow, that's impressive. I'm glad I got this camera because I can use it in low light situations. I can use this camera wherever I want, even on traveling. So you can see it's a really great camera, wonderful quality, also got some really nice features in the software. But let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison with the Logitech C920 and the Elgato Facecam. You might be surprised or you might not, like I was. Okay, now comes a test to see which Facecam is better than the other. I think you're gonna agree that there's a no-brainer here. So let's take a look. In OBS right now, you're seeing the Elgato Facecam. Fantastic quality, really nice, especially for a Facecam. Got some lights behind me to try and throw it off with its exposure, but then again, I've set its exposure to manual. So right now what I have is contrast 20%, field of view is 83 degrees, saturation 53%, sharpness it was +2, which is the default at what it should be set at. Shutter speed again is 125, double my frame rate, and then my ISO is 151. I've got the white balance at 3900K or Kelvin, and I have no noise reduction. So it looks really nice. Let's take a look and see what the C920 looks like. It is a little different. It's got auto exposure. I've set all the filters as best I can. So if I just go into here and I go to filters, let me toggle them off. And you can see there is a difference. I've done the best I can without changing too much because there's only so far that I can push this camera. If I just adjust its exposure here, and then let's see if it gets fixed. It's still not the greatest. You can see there's some highlights here. Actually, it just got fixed. So, it goes back because of auto exposure. I wonder if I cover the light in the background. No, it doesn't do anything. So that's the problem with auto exposure. I wish I could do manual. And as well as the focus hunting, when it goes womp and it just kind of, the focus just goes everywhere. Look at that. And so does the exposure. I mean, it's great for, what was it, 80, 100 bucks? Currently, it's really pricey because it's what people love to use. As far as the Elgato Facecam goes, it's really nice. Now, let's take a look and see them side by side. So if I just show this, you can see there is a significant difference. With frame rate, I can't see as much. There is a little bit more motion blur with the Logitech C920. Is there as much delay? They're pretty much the same. The Elgato seems to be fraction faster or less delay. They're both into a USB 3.0, so they're at their fullest potential because you have to use the 3.0 with these Facecams and with the Logitech C920. So I don't really think there's any competition here, but as far as the price, is it worth it? That's totally up to you. It's $200 in the US and I believe it's $240 in Canada or something like that. So it is a little bit of a pricey Facecam. So there you go, short and sweet. I hope it was helpful. Leave a like on the video. Remember, there is a graphics card giveaway, an RTX 3060 Ti. If you want to learn more about that, check out the video in the top right in the cards here. Take a look at it and you can enter for free, no purchase required. And go nuts on the entries. Get as much entries as you can. I'll see you next time, but until then, make something great.